3, 2.
Okay, let's try this again. Welcome to the Antelope Valley Union High School Board Meeting. Good evening. Please be advised that the Board of Trustees are participating in this regular board meeting, October 15th, 2020, with teleconferencing. The meeting is being recorded and all actions will be taken by a roll call vote. I would like to ask board members to respond to the following questions as I call your name. Are you able to hear our proceedings on your end? Mr. Johnson?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Ms. Perrell?
Yes.
Thank you. Dr. Ruffin?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Rush?
Yes.
Thank you. And Ms. McGrady, yes. We have no comments submitted for closed session, so we'll move forward to B. The Board of Trustees will adjourn to closed session to consider and may act on any of the closed session matters listed in agenda item 18. May I have a motion?
Motion.
Thank you, Mr. Rush. Second? I will second it. Any discussion?
For the record, before the adjournment to closed session, I will state why I am not going into closed session again. For the record, I am documenting that hostile work environment consistent attacks by Board Trustee McGrady, Mr. Rush. As I have discussed before, it is stated and has been in the record, in refusal to allow the board attorney, Harrison Associates, into closed session. Lastly, and for the record, I have been present at the board meetings and during closed session, even though I have chosen not to attend until the board attorney, who is, I believe, in my opinion, an unbiased party, is allowed to attend closed session for my safety. Thank you.
Any other comments or discussion? Mr. Johnson, how do you vote?
Aye.
Thank you. Ms. Perrell?
No.
Dr. Ruffin?
No.
And Mr. Rush?
Yes.
Yes. And Ms. McGrady? Yes. So we will have closed session, but we will not be able to make any decisions for the board. Thank you. And we will see you again at 7 o'clock.
Hey, Gary, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good.
Welcome back, Dr. Ruffin.
Thank you so much.
Welcome back, Mr. Hawkins.
Thank you, sir. How am I coming across?
You're fine by.
Thank you, sir.
Welcome back, Ms. Burrell.
Thank you very much. I accidentally completely left the whole thing and didn't realize it.
You're back now. Everything sounds good. Welcome back, Mr. Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Allen.
Welcome back, Mr. Rush. Welcome back, Mr. Nean.
Thank you. Glad to be back.
Welcome. We would like to reconvene the regular meeting of the Antelope Valley Union High School District. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand, place your right hand over your heart. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. It is recommended that the Board of Trustees adjourn to the PINCO meeting. May I have a motion?
Motion.
Thank you, Mr. Rush. A second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Perrell. Any discussion? Hearing none, how do you vote, Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
Aye, thank you. Ms. Perrell, how do you vote?
Aye.
Aye, thank you. Dr. Ruffin?
Yes.
Yes. Mr. Rush?
Aye.
Aye, thank you. And Ms. McGrady, aye. The public is invited to address items on the PINCO agenda. Oh, I don't believe we had any this evening, so we will move on to C. It is recommended that the Board of Trustees approve and authorize the purchases outlined on the attached schedule. May I have a motion?
Motion.
Okay, that was Ms. Perrell. Thank you. A second?
Second.
Second. Thank you, Dr. Ruffin. Any discussion? Hearing none. Mr. Johnson, how do you vote?
Aye.
Aye. Ms. Perrell, how do you vote?
Aye.
Aye. Dr. Ruffin, how do you vote?
Yes.
Yes. Mr. Rush?
Yes.
Yes. And Ms. McGrady? Yes, it passes unanimously. I'd like to reconvene our regular meeting. We are, if you're following along, at 6 to adopt the resolution from 2020-2107 for the Classified Employee of the Year, Monica Marquez. It is recommended that the Board of Trustees adopt this resolution and recognize Monica Marquez as the Classified Employee of the Year. May I have a motion?
Motion.
Thank you, Ms. Perrell. A second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Rush. Any discussion?
Yes. Just a question for Dr. Vieira. Just a quick question. How were these matters adopted for resolution placed on this agenda, Dr. Vieira?
This is a normal procedure that we do each year in recognition of our employees of the year. So it's just a routine item.
Oh, okay. I was just asking more so specifically about resolutions being placed on the agenda.
Well, it depends on the resolution that's coming forward. This one here is just a resolution in recognition of our 2 employees.
Okay, because I would like to recognize our Hispanic and Latinx students and staff in the population in the community in our district. And I would like to formally put that in the records for the board to adopt a resolution to adopt from September the 15th to October the 15th as the National Hispanic Heritage Month, recognizing the contributions and influence of the Hispanic Americans to the history, for their history and culture and achievements for the United States, if we can do that too in the future. That ends my comments.
Okay, thank you. The Antelope Valley Union High School District Resolution 20-2107, Classified Employee of the Year. Whereas quality education represents society's greatest and most lasting gift to new generations, and the future of our state depends largely on the work of dedicated and professional classified employees. Like teachers, classified employees help today's students become tomorrow's leaders. Classified employees provide students with valuable guidance, support, and encouragement. It is appropriate that the public recognizes and appreciates the many contributions classified employees make to the community. And whereas Monica Marquez is an exceptionally skillful and dedicated classified employee, and whereas Monica Marquez has the respect and admiration of staff, public, and coworkers, whereas Monica Marquez possesses a superior ability to inspire love of learning in students of all backgrounds and abilities. Now, therefore, be it resolved, the Antelope Valley Union High School District endorses Monica Marquez as its 2020 Classified Employee of the Year. It is further resolved, the Antelope Valley Union High School District expresses its deep appreciation for the commitment and a devotion to excellence in education demonstrated by the entire classified staff. And be it further resolved, the Antelope Valley Union High School District urges all citizens to make a commitment to public education by supporting all classified employees in all schools. Adopted this 15th day of October 2020 by the Antelope Valley Union High School District Board of Trustees in Los Angeles County, California. Congratulations to Monica Marquez. Moving forward, we are at B, to adopt the resolution. It is recommended that the Board of Trustees adopt Resolution 2020-2108 and recognize Timothy Green as Teacher of the Year. May I have a motion?
Motion.
Thank
Miss
you.
Mrs. McGrady, I thought we were supposed to take a vote.
Oh, I'm so sorry. We sure were. Thank you. Thank you, ma'am. I just passed right over that. Excuse me. Back aboard. How do you vote? Ms. Perrell?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Dr. Ruffin?
Yes.
Yes. Mr. Rush?
Yes.
Yes. And Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
Aye. And Ms. McGrady? Yes, though that was unanimous. Now we're moving forward. Thank you, Dr. Ruffin. It is recommended that the Board of Trustees adopt Resolution 2020-2108 and recognize Timothy Green as Teacher of the Year. Once again, may I have a motion? Ms. Perrell, are you willing to keep that motion?
Yes.
Thank you. I need a second.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Rush. Any discussion? Okay, so before we take the vote, let me read this. The Antelope Valley Union High School District Resolution 2020-108 for Teacher of the Year. Whereas quality education represents society's greatest and most lasting gift to new generations, and the future of our state depends largely on the work of dedicated and professional teachers. Teachers have the important task of helping today's students become tomorrow's leaders, and along with academic instruction, teachers provide students with valuable guidance, support, and encouragement. And it is appropriate that the public recognizes and appreciates the many contributions teachers make to the community. And Timothy Green will be remembered as a skillful and dedicated teacher. And Timothy Green has the respect and admiration of students, parents, and coworkers, whereas Timothy Green possessed a superior ability to inspire love of learning in students of all backgrounds and abilities. Now, therefore, be it resolved, the Antelope Valley Union High School District endorses Timothy Green as its 2020 Teacher of the Year. Be it further resolved, the Antelope Valley Union High School District expresses its deep appreciation for the commitment and devotion to excellence in education demonstrated by the entire teaching staff. Be it further resolved, the Antelope Valley Union High School District urges all citizens to make a commitment to public education by supporting all teachers in all schools. Adopted this 15th day of October 2020 by the Antelope Valley Union High School District Board of Trustees in Los Angeles County, California. Student Board Member, Mr. Johnson, how do you vote?
Aye.
Aye, thank you. Ms. Perrell?
Aye.
Aye. Dr. Ruffin?
Yes.
Yes. Mr. Rush?
Aye.
Aye. And Ms. McGrady, aye. That was a unanimous vote. Okay, thank you. We're moving forward to C, the ICC student representatives, Eastside High School, Highland High School, and Knight High School. Mr. Johnson, would you introduce?
Thank you, Madam Clerk. I'd like to thank you for your leadership and the way you've conducted our board meetings. This school year has been challenging for many students. We have adopted an at-home learning model that has come with many adversities and challenges, but we will continue to persevere. Much like other classes, ICC has had early years struggles, but we are very grateful that we have 3 presentations tonight. These schools have worked hard on these presentations in a different setting as normal. And I know he won't like this, but I'd like to thank Gary Allen for his help tonight. And with that being said, ladies and gentlemen of the board and cabinet, Eastside High School. Ladies and gentlemen of the board and cabinet, Highland High School.
Hello, school board members. We are here to present to you what the students at Highland have been doing recently. My name is Angelica and I am ASB president. I'm April Garcia and I'm the ASB publicist.
And I'm Daniel Linares and I'm an ASB as well.
This summer we were able to present the students at Highland High School the Summer Spirit Month. It was a whole month of spirit activities that was presented each day. You can see the advertisements we have made, and in the middle we have the participants we had by the end, and then the prizes we also gave to them. In the month of August, we hosted a virtual dance party to celebrate the start of the new year. We also had a club rush to introduce students to the activities we have and how it will be done online. ASB Spoker began making videos from answering questions to the regular announcements. We also showed appreciation to our hardworking staff members as well as recognition to August and September birthdays. ASB also started making Spotify playlists to our students and staff to enjoy throughout their day. For September, we started the March with our Hispanic Heritage Spirit Week, and the top participants won a gift card. Our Spirit Days were Music Monday, Traditional Food Tuesday, Raise Your Family from Wednesday, Diversity Thursday, and Black Friday. We also had our suicide awareness video with a guest speaker. We are currently holding an art contest for suicide awareness. The staff had created their own contest. They had to guess who was who, but they used childhood pictures to guess. Also, Highland staff made a video introducing themselves as well as our own ASB members.
Coming up this October, we plan to host information to honor LGBTQ heritage and disability history. We also plan to share information about breast cancer and hopefully host a fundraiser to support the search for a cure. With Halloween coming up, we also plan to host some scary contests like a watch party and a school-wide trivia. And although we won't be in person, we still plan to host a drive-through homecoming activity where we will give out over 300 school spirit gift bags.
Thank you for listening to our presentation. Please take your time and follow us on our social media that's presented on this slide.
Ladies and gentlemen of the board and cabinet, I may be biased, but the greatest school in our district, Knight High School.
Are we all ready to go? All right. Good evening, board and cabinet. We are ICC representatives from Knight High School, and here's our presentation.
Hi, I'm Valerie. So for virtualizing leadership, we used the Castle article as reference, and we mainly spoke about the 4 topics: building support and spirit, club connection, school-wide recognition, community engagement, and more. We made sure to be inclusive of all students and staff. This is an example of the fundraising virtualizing leadership slide. As you can see, they work very diligently.
Hello, my name is Joseph Dominguez, and this summer we had the opportunity to attend CATACAP, and many of our students were able to join different groups and discuss different ideas and do many fun activities with each other.
For the interactive club slides, the main purpose of this was to familiarize as well as inform students about clubs that are offered to them. This is an example of how the club slides work. You would click on the name of the club that you were interested in. It will take you to a slide and then provide you with resources to join the club.
Our counseling team has worked hard to help provide students with opportunities or information about college. They have had many workshops and advertisements to help with seniors getting the information they need. They also have a Google Classroom where they provide the information they want to post on there. This is very helpful for students who need the heads up when they don't want to miss anything important.
Hello, I'm Matthew Martinez, and Knight High School participated in their first Spirit Week of the 2020 school year from the 21st of September to the 25th. Some examples of the dress-up days were wearing college merch, wearing your favorite Disney ears, and sharing some of your favorite memories. Some examples of the activities that we performed on dates were the Kahoot and a scavenger hunt that we had for all the students to play. There was a great turnout in all the activities and the dress-up days, and everybody who participated with the hashtag KHS Disney Spirit Week was reposted on the Knight_activities Instagram page.
Good evening. This is Jeremiah Gallegos. For all of our fundraising endeavors this school year, we have created our KHS student web store. How it works, students simply create an account using their student emails. They can browse for items with our search engine or through the categories menu, add each item they wish to the cart, and check out when ready. There's simply a 3% convenience fee for using the online student store, and they can schedule to pick up every weekday between 12 to 2 p.m. at the school student store. Here are some examples of our student merchandise that we have online for sale. We also facilitated our first virtual fundraiser, our Krispy Kreme Digital Dozen fundraiser. Students simply have to purchase a voucher for a $10 voucher for 1 dozen of Krispy Kreme's original glazed donuts. It then sends an email to their student email to redeem the voucher, and they can take the voucher to any Krispy Kreme to have it redeemed for the 12 dozen donuts.
Hello, I'm Lillian Harrell, and one thing we do to appreciate our staff is we post them on our school Instagram account. So the way it works is we'll interview a staff member per week, and we ask them questions as what do they work as at the school, where did they graduate, and we will make a little doc of them and post it on our Google Class on our Instagram. And then we also have a Google Classroom for our staff members where we post information about our spirit weeks and stuff like that. And we also show our appreciation to them through the Google Classroom.
Thank you for viewing our presentation and have a awesome day.
Thank you, Ms. McGrady, for this. We look forward to future ICC presentations in the future.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. I'd like to thank all of our students from Eastside High School, Highland High School, and Knight High School. We miss seeing your smiling faces. We miss having you present at our meetings. I thank you for putting together these presentations for us, and we look forward to the time when we can see you once again in person. Thank you and stay safe. Moving forward, we are at D in the presentation. Mr. Nehan has a presentation about our small cohorts returning to school with school opening and safety plan. Mr. Nehan.
Thank you, Ms. McGrady. Good evening, members of the board and listening public. This evening, we wanted to bring you an update on our plans to reopen schools. Go through a little bit about the processes we've gone through so far. And at the end, I want to share some great news for the week. It's important to keep in mind that this is the first step in a phase-in, and it's important to keep in mind that the guidance and parameters that we receive from both the state and LA County Departments of Public Health is ever evolving. And as that evolves on an ongoing basis, we'll continue to adjust and adapt. But we've learned over the past months that nothing is set in stone, nothing is static. So we have to have some agility and flexibility on our end. But to open things up, to talk about the planning, the process that we've gone through to get to where we are, I'll turn it over to my colleague, Mr. Neal, to walk through some of the steps that we've taken so far. Brett?
Thank you, Mr. Nehan, and good evening, board. Thank you again for the opportunity to share with you a little bit tonight. As Mr. Nehan said, he and I will be presenting some of the many steps that have been taken to reopen our facilities and plan for the returning of a number of our students to their school sites. And as you can imagine, the number of hours of planning that have been done in conjunction with quite a bit of input from a number of our staff members, those that are in risk management, human resources, obviously student support, ed services, business, along with site administrators, teachers, labor group representatives, and then even information we received that I believe Greg will share with some parent student surveys. And then all under the guidance of the Los Angeles County Office of Education, as well as the Los Angeles County Department of Public Health. Gary, do you mind, next slide, please? Please, next slide. Thank you. And just so we're all on the same page, we've all had the desire. The desire has been for all of us, really from March when we sent students and staff home up until now. The desire of all of us has been the safe return of our staff and our students. And that desire really has been firmly rooted in the two guiding principles that we've shared with you over the months, maintaining the continuity of our students' learning, as well as mitigating the spread of the COVID-19 virus. And so we have been doing a lot of preparation for the opening of our campuses, wanting to ensure that we are and have been in compliance with the Los Angeles County Department of Public Health. And it did begin with our site administrators, our principals specifically, working and taking an online training from the Department of Public Health, in which after that training, the administrators were able to receive for each of their sites the COVID-19 safety compliance certificate. And that has been posted on each of the sites' web pages. And if anyone chooses to, they can go on their web pages and see that certificate of compliance for that training. In addition, our sites, our principals, staff members on all of our campuses have been working to adhere to the reopening protocols of the Department of Public Health, specifically beginning with Appendix D. Early on in the summer, we received the protocols, the guidance from the Department of Public Health. It has, as Greg has mentioned, evolved over time. And as things evolve, we work with our sites to make sure that we're in compliance with that. And so along with the safety compliance certificate, you will see on our site websites the reopening for our offices, which is Appendix D. It is a 6-page checklist that deals with protocols for the office work site. And our sites have been able to check off the different protocols that we have in place for the reopening of our offices. Protocols that deal with the protection and support of employee health, ensuring that there is appropriate physical distancing, ensuring proper infection control, communication protocols with the public, and then ensuring equitable access to all student services. As we began to bring our employees back on our campuses, those are the protocols that we put in place to reopen. And again, those can be seen on that Appendix D of the Department of Public Health guidelines for reopening. In addition, over the summer, we began to look at ways to reopen our campuses to the public. And one of the first things that we did was establish a protocol for opening up the lobby so our parents and visitors can come on campus, mostly by appointment for staff on campus. But we did establish a protocol for all of our sites, identifying a single entry point on the campus, designating a person to intake parent and students, visitors on the campus, usually at the reception desk, signing students and visitors in, providing screening protocol questions and temperature checks, ensuring physical distancing, signage, floor decals, so that our visitors know to physically distance from each other, waiting areas in the lobby, making sure that depending on the school size, that visitors on campus were limited, restroom access, cleaning of the restroom access for visitors as well. And we began that in early September. And then as we begin to look at opening up to students, working with the Department of Public Health on the reopening protocols for schools, which is Appendix T1. And these are protocols, and this is actually a 17-page checkoff list, a lot more detailed in the same areas of campus reopening as for office reopening, but tied with students and student-aged individuals on our campus. And so that has been completed and addressed before students came on campus this week. And those two, I believe, will be posted on the site websites soon. And a lot of these practices, as we look at some of the district protocols, we were able to work with both labor groups to create FAQ sheets, or frequently asked question sheets, that deal with operations of school, questions about our operating of our campuses, looking at total number of students, employees that are permitted in those cohorts, the screening of students prior to them coming onto campus. When will students be excluded from school based on safety protocols? How do they enter and exit campuses? As well as health and safety, the cleaning, disinfecting, ensuring physical distancing, and so on. Meal services, providing meal services for our students in class or escorting students to the cafeteria, and then looking at additional instructional considerations, making sure our students in those cohorts have the manipulatives and other instructional materials needed, technology at school as well as at home, and then also providing additional pull-out services for our students. And next slide, please, Gary. And so then when we looked at how we were going to open up our campuses, again, taking direction and guidance from the Department of Public Health, early on, back in the early summer, we were working under the assumptions that we would be able to bring students back on campus to move from class to class as long as we establish physical distancing protocols and limiting the number of students on our campus. And as you recall, we created memos of understanding with both labor groups with that assumption in place. We went from that concept to full distance learning. And now, as we look at, again, the evolution of the guidance from the Department of Public Health, looking at the latest guidance, which is schools may return in stable cohorts for specialized instruction. And I know Greg will be sharing that in more detail. So as we prepare for these small cohorts returning, as Greg will share with you, we've surveyed parents on readiness, informed our staff and families of the protocols, and then we've staged and will continue to order appropriate personal protective equipment as needed and have that readily available for all of our staff and students in many cases. What we've also done is to create an informational video to show what our campuses have been doing to prepare for this and what an individual might see as they came onto the campus and looking at these cohorts and what our campuses have been prepared for. And so, Gary, if you could share the video, I'd
We are
appreciate it.
excited at the opportunity to welcome small groups of students and staff back to our campuses this month. Returning to school is going to look a bit different, and we want to share with you some changes you can expect. When visiting our school offices, all visitors will be required to wear a face covering and participate in a wellness screening by a staff member of ours. All students and staff members will be required to wear a face covering while on campus. Designated entrances and exits have been established at each school to facilitate a smooth arrival and dismissal of students. Students arriving to school by bus transportation will participate in a wellness screening conducted by our partners at the Antelope Valley Schools Transportation Agency. Those students being dropped off at school will participate in a wellness screening from the school staff upon arrival. These screenings will include a temperature check with a no-touch thermometer, as well as brief symptoms check. Anyone exhibiting a temperature above 100.4 or reporting symptoms of COVID-19 will be excluded from riding the bus or entering the campus. Signs are posted throughout our campuses to remind students and staff to physically distance, wear a mask, and wash their hands or use hand sanitizer throughout the day. Hand sanitizer will be available in all classrooms. Soap and paper towels will be stocked daily in student and staff bathrooms. Students will be seated at least 6 feet apart in the classroom to ensure physical distancing. Plexiglass barriers have been installed where practicable or where 6 feet distance cannot be achieved. Meals will be provided in to-go packaging. Dining will take place outdoors when weather allows. If weather does not allow for outdoor seating, students will maintain physical distancing while eating in the school cafeteria. Frequently touched surfaces will be cleaned and disinfected daily. Disinfectants will be applied by foggers each night in our classrooms and in our office spaces. We look forward to seeing you soon. Please visit our website at avdistrict.org for a list of frequently asked questions, or contact us at info@avhsd.org for more information.
Thank you, Gary. I appreciate that. And just as I turn this back over to,
We're excited at the opportunity to welcome.
there we go. And as I turn this back over to Greg, I'd like to just do a quick share with you. I know there has been a lot of anticipation and maybe even some apprehension amongst really everyone as we look at bringing students back as safely as possible, as well as our staff. So apprehension upon our site administrators, classified certificate employees, parents, and students. And it has been challenging work, but it has been good work with all of our folks. But I got to tell you, I had an opportunity to visit some classes this week and waving to students through windows and doors. And while you couldn't see it on their mouth, you could just see the joy that they had through their eyes and the smiles that were coming through their eyes, and knowing that all of the work done up until that point was well worth it to have our students back on campus. So thank you, board. And Greg, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Brett. Next slide, please, Gary. So you're all aware, since the beginning of this school year, all of our students have been operating under the at-home learning model. Recently, the State Department of Public Health, as well as the LA County, introduced the concept of small, stable cohorts with the ability to return. And the initial guidance has been for our special education students, as well as our designated ELD or English language development students, to return to campus. So Mr. Neal outlined some of the steps that we've taken, but I'll take a moment and talk a little bit about what these small, stable cohorts really are. Next slide, please. So a cohort of students from these two particular groups cannot exceed 14 total individuals, and that's 2 adults, and that's presumably 1 teacher and 1 aide, and then a group of 12, which can be a combination of student adults. In some of our special education settings, a number of the students have a one-on-one aide. So that group of students and adults cannot exceed 12 plus the two additional adults for 14. And the concept of stable cohorts is these students come on campus and they remain essentially as a unit for the entire day. And there's some parameters with regards to individualized services. There's some parameters with teachers being able to visit 2 different cohorts in a day. But essentially, this group of students and adults comes on campus and they stay together that day and every day that they're on campus. The students and staff will all adhere to the Department of Public Health guidelines with regards to wearing face coverings. We maintain a minimum of 6 feet physical distancing when practicable. And all of the buses that are providing transportation are running at half capacity to ensure that physical distancing. Another piece about this small, stable cohorts is that the total number of students on campus in the cohorts cannot exceed 10% of that school's particular population. Next slide, please. So in preparation for this transition, we had staff call families of both special education and ELD students and ask their preference with regards to returning to campus. And it's important to note that as long as the COVID crisis exists, we will continue to offer as much on-campus learning as possible and as is safe for students and staff, as Mr. Neal stated earlier. But also, we'll continue to offer the at-home learning model or the blended learning model, where students who don't feel safe coming on campus can continue to learn at home. So we called the 537 families that represent our pre-vocational, our SDD, and our autism parents. And as you can see, just a little over 50% of them said, yes, they wanted to return. Next slide. And of those that said no, there were a variety of reasons, but roughly 3/4 of them had student health, family health, and then COVID-19 specifically as some of their reasons. So we need to continue to be mindful of that. The next slide. So when we're looking at our ELD students, we have a large population of EL students. This particular group is specifically students who are the newcomers, 3 years or less, and are in a designated ELD support class. These are the students who need the most intensive instruction and support as learners of English and as learners of the academic content at the same time. The 3 to 5 year at promise ELs and our long-term ELs are not a part of these stable cohorts. Next slide. We talked to 109 of our families. We had 2 families that we were unable to make contact with, and it may be due to some of the challenges that the families are facing with regards to the Bobcat fire. But about 2/3 of those families wanted students to return. Next slide. And then a little bit different, there was over half of our students that did not want to return, had health concerns, but also a number of them have siblings at home that they're caring for while family is out working. Next slide. So the good news, and Mr. Neal stole a little bit of my thunder, but we were very happy to welcome our first students back to campus this past Monday. We had 278 students from our SDD, our autism, and our pre-vocational classes return to campus. It was on our 8 comprehensive campus. And just want to say a big thank you to our certificated, classified folks, as well as our administration who worked really hard to make a safe return to school possible. And I have not been on campuses yet, but just talking to the staff that's involved, this gives everyone a sense of normalcy, a sense of this is the first step in getting back to what we all got in this profession for, which is reaching and teaching our students. Next slide. So looking at our next steps, we want to expand our on-campus classes to include our designated ELD students. And because of the nature of their schedule, it presents some unique challenges that we're working through, and we will be able to bring them back relatively quickly. And then we also want to expand our special education offerings to include our SDC students and working through some of the logistics of that. And then we'll continue to explore as the guidance changes, we'll continue to explore the ways that we can provide on-campus services to all students in need of those additional supports. And that could be in the guise of tutoring, that could be in the form of additional instruction outside of the school day. So we'll explore all options to provide a meaningful learning experience for all of our students. Next slide. And with that, Mr. Neal and I are happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Nehan. We appreciate all the work that you and your team have put in on this, and we thank all of our employees for working together and coming together to try to start bringing some of our students back. It's been a huge project, I know, and I thank you so much for everything that all of you are doing. Anyone else on the board have any questions or comments?
Thank you. Great presentation. This might answer a question that I have for the consent items. There's a $7 million home transportation. Is this what that fee is for, the transportation for that?
Mr. Hawkins, can you help? I'm not sure what Dr. Ruffin is referring to specifically. It might just be our annual transportation.
Yes, that's correct. That's the annual cost for AVUHSD. That's what we pay for
the home to school transportation. Okay, sorry about that.
Yes, just general home to school transportation. And it does include all of the special education transportation as well. So it's both of those components.
Okay. So in regards to the transportation, it looks like there was a specialized transportation for these students. So with this new system for our kids getting to school, am I hearing it correctly that all of these students must take school transportation currently?
No. The students that qualify for transportation in their IEP have door-to-door transportation. Some students, even though they have that that provided for them or made available to them. Some parents still prefer to drop their students off at school. So that's why we have a small number of parents providing transportation every day.
Okay, so it's not that they're all coming to school together on the same bus and then they're in a selective cohort. There's some parents are still dropping them off. Okay, great.
That's correct.
Okay. And then my second question, this is for Dr. Vieira. Dr. Vieira, if you could, again, I'm sitting here with my phone, clicking, taking pictures of each one of the slides. Could you please make sure that the board has a copy of the presentation before the board meeting so that we could do our best to kind of follow along and be a little bit ahead of the presentation so that if we do have questions, we can be able to go ahead and before the meeting, because like I said, I'm clicking with my phone, trying to follow as they're presenting. Thank you.
Yes, when those presentations are put together, when the agenda goes out that prior Friday, if they are ready at that time, we will absolutely include those with the agenda. What we'll do, again, of course, after tonight's meetings, we'll send those out to the board. And of course, they're available for the public as well. Thank you.
And it's no problem. I know that a Friday might be a hiccup, but today is Thursday. Even if it was sent, I could have printed it out, but I appreciate it. Thank you.
We are at E, the quarterly Williams Uniform Complaint Procedures Report Summary from July 2020 to September 2020. Mr. Nehan.
Mr. Neal.
I'm sorry, Mr. Neal, pardon me, excuse me.
I apologize.
Yep.
Yes, for the report period from July through September of this year, we had 0 complaints.
Thank you very much. Moving on, we are at Antelope Valley Schools Transportation Report Update. I believe this is Mr. Hawkins.
Yes, just real quick. Currently, AVSTA has about 40 bus runs for our district for bringing our special education students to and from school. They also provide an additional 4 bus runs where we are providing lunch services to some of the outer areas from our schools. And then they also are providing, I think, 2 or 3 bus runs for Westside School District for lunch service as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hawkins. Okay, moving forward, we are at G, a review of action taken under Board Policy 2210. During the September 10th, 2020 regular board meeting, the board did not hold a closed session due to a lack of quorum. Consistent with the administration's recently developed protocols, we have reviewed the closed session agenda items from the September 10th, 2020 regular board meeting to determine whether it is necessary for the superintendent to exercise his authority granted under Board Policy 2210 to approve actions necessary to avoid any risk to the safety or security of students, staff, or district property, or to prevent disruption of school operations. For the September 10th, 2020 regular board meeting agenda items that require board approval and which authority has not been delegated per the annual resolution or other board policy, administrative action has been taken for District Board Policy 2210 on the following agenda items from that meeting. Approved Compromise and Release Agreement, STS 21023, OAH case number 20200400519, item 16D for $14,750. This is for payment of attorney's fees and compensatory services as part of a compromise and release agreement.
Excuse me, board clerk, are you finished?
Yes.
Okay. I would like to say this for the record and in the record. Board bylaw 9000 says that no individual board member has any sole authority alone. The board acts as a unit. That means that the board acts as a board majority. There has not been a board majority that has voted on any of these policies under 2210. According to Government Code 54956.5, an emergency situation, which means either of the following according to the government code, and this is a quote, So these are not my words. This is a quotation. An emergency which shall be defined as a work stoppage, crippling activity, or other activity that severely impairs public health and or safety as determined by a majority of the members of the board. A dire emergency which shall be defined as a crippling disaster, major destruction, terrorist activity, or threatened terrorist act that poses peril so immediate and significant that requires the board to provide 1 hour notice before holding an emergency meeting may endanger the public health and or safety as determined by the majority of the board members. End the quote. Every single action taken under board policy 2210 is illegal. There has not been a board majority that has voted to approve any of those actions. I end my statement.
Thank you. Just like to point out, there's no board majority because 2 of you refused to come to closed session. So we can't take a vote on these. We are not able to take a vote on these. That's what has set up the emergency situation. Moving on, we are from
Board Clerk, just because you do not get your way, or myself or Trustee Perrell does not go into closed session, that does not deem an emergency. Like it is stated, and this is a public meeting, thank God, these actions are unethical and they are illegal. You nor Vieira. Vieira is not the 5th board member of this board. There are 4 board members here. We have a right to hold a meeting. We can even hold a special meeting to discuss whatever. We have enough people on this board to have a meeting and take a vote. Just because you do not get your way, you cannot usurp the procedures. What you are doing and what Dr. Vieira is doing is improper. Like I stated, this board has not voted on anything under this policy, and I rest. Thank you.
Ms. McGrady, this is Jay Furno. Would you like me to comment?
Yes, please. Thank you.
I mean, I feel like we've gone over this a number of times, and I can restate the fact that the board bylaw actually gives the superintendent the authority to act in the manner in which he's acted. It is inaccurate and wrong to say that the superintendent's acting illegally or contrary to law. Again, the board has already given the superintendent the authority to act under these exact circumstances.
And I'm going to say for the record, the board majority previously voted that F3 does not give Jay Furno the right to even be on this board. He shouldn't even be on this call. Him even being here speaking is illegal. We should not even be paying him. And I believe that I presented 4 checks at several board meetings ago that shows that he's not even authorized to be paid for that. So he shouldn't even be speaking or even being on this call, because the board majority that voted on that action stated that too. And it has not been a new board majority to reverse what that board majority has stated.
Thank you. Moving forward, we're from AVTA, Mr. Dan Shai.
Can you hear me, Ms. McGrady?
Sure can. Thank you for being here this evening.
Okay. Good evening, Ms. McGrady and Mr. Rush. I'm directing my initial comments to the 2 of you because actually you're the only 2 board members that actually care about what is happening in this district. You're the only ones who have a genuine interest in what is best for the students we serve and for your employees. And for that, I thank both of you. As you are aware, the county gave the go-ahead for small cohorts of students. You heard the presentation from Mr. Neal and Mr. Nean, thank you. And I would like to say that Mr. Neal invited me to accompany him to a number of those site visits. We visited a few schools, and to say, that I was impressed would be an understatement. All right. The safety protocols put in place were exactly the same at each school. I joked with the principals that we were grading them, that we were doing a forced, what was the word, Brett? Anyway, that we were grading them, but yet each school held up. Each school had the same procedures in place to ensure that when a visitor comes on campus, they are screened properly and that they are then escorted properly and so forth. The students we talked to, as Mr. Neal highlighted, we're talking about a bunch of happy kids. They were just happy to be on campus. All right. It was a resounding success. And it appears that the early stages of our return, it has been a complete success. So, kudos to the principals that we visited. They know who they are. Thank you, Mr. Neal, for inviting me. You didn't have to do that, but I appreciate that. It makes me feel better. It allows me to communicate with my members that the district is doing everything to ensure the safety of the students and the employees. And so for that, I say thank you. Now turning to the other two board members. That would be you, Ms. Ruffin, and you, Ms. Perrell. You continue to spout your empty rhetoric about the gross injustices this district has put on the minority community. But actually, the only action ever taken against minorities has come at your hands. You fired the highest ranking African-American female in the district. I get that. I understand that. She was smarter than you, and you felt threatened by her intelligence. You could not handle that. That's totally within your character. So you lashed out like children do, and you fired her. Yes, a cowardly act, but true, very true to the character that you have displayed here, Miss Ruffin. But now you have before you once again an action item to hire a special education teacher. Also, by the way, an African-American male. Twice he has been denied employment. So once again, his name appears on the agenda. The only people with the boots on the necks of African Americans in this district are the two of you. Shame on you, Mrs. Perrell. This is completely in Miss Ruffin's character. Everyone understands her brand of craziness, but you, why? Why do you continue to follow in her footsteps? This is your opportunity, Miss Perrell, to do what is right and cast that ever important third vote and give this young man the career he has worked hard for. We expect Ruffin to stay true to her flawed character, but you have a chance to be something decent, something right, and to separate yourself from the viciousness of Ruffin. Surprise us, Amanda, and do the right thing. That's all I have to say, Miss McGrady.
Thank you, Mr. Schy. From CSEA, I believe we have Karen White. Mrs. White, are you with us tonight?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
I'm not real good with this technology.
That's okay. We can hear you now. Thank you.
Good, thank you. So good evening, Board Clerk, Ms. McGrady, Board Member, Student Board Member, Mr. Johnson, Dr. Vieira, Board Cabinet, Mr. Furno, and Ms. Orozco. Here we are in the middle of October with 97-degree weather, nice cool evenings. And of all things, we're in the first week of our school that actually has students on our campuses for a fall semester. I know that this week our members and staff have had to deal with hiccups as students arrived, but realizing that we can't plan for every moment and unexpectedly things do come up that takes us away from a carefree opening, but we still work things out and we continue towards the next day. I want to acknowledge all of these stakeholders from the bus drivers, parents, students, teachers, our paras and our instructional aides, the maintenance and operation departments, our district staff and administration for all their hard work that they put into bringing back our special needs students for this week. COVID-19 has not made this an easy year for us, but we're moving forward as best we can and with all the issues and regulations that pop up. CSEA continues to have concerns with the ability to provide safety measures for those on campuses. And we continue to work on getting supplies into areas and to members that seem to be either short or lacking in these provisions. But I want to thank Dr. Vieira and you, Mr. Neal, for reaching out to CSEA, keeping that door of communication open this week, and reassuring us that the face shields, the gloves, masks, plexiglass barriers, and the other PPEs would be in our classrooms and for each member to keep them and our students safe. These are very important measures that we must be maintained, and I know that CSEA and the district will work diligently to ensure that these supplies are made available and ensure that our custodial staff are provided the safety measures concerning their daily disinfecting. Now, I would like to address item 9A in the personnel services on the board agenda, as it is with my sincerest wish that the board consider this individual and what he can and what he's done, besides what he will be able to do for our students, their parents, and most importantly, what he will do for representing our district. I would hope that you would not forget that there are a lot of classified employees out there that have continued with their desire to further their education, complete their degrees, and some are already on their way to finishing their masters. So it just goes to show you that there's more to a classified employee than meets the eye. And I hope tonight that you will not have a blind eye to the ability and accomplishments of this young man who has shown and can be what we can be provided for our future. Please show your faith in what he brings to education and also to our students. Lastly, my wish. And my wish is that you will all enjoy good health as we continue to go through this health crisis. And one day, hopefully not in the too distant future, we can all enjoy what we had before COVID-19. And with that, I thank you for listening to our concerns and for our hopes. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. White. We appreciate both of you being here. Thank you so much. We're moving forward to J for public comments from the floor for agendized items. Do we have any comments from the public on agendized items?
Yes, we have one comment from the public on agendized items.
Okay.
The first comment is from Joe Kelly for agenda number 10. Item 10A is the resolution to honor the week of the school administrator, and tomorrow is Boss's Day. I'd like to take this opportunity to honor our boss, Dr. David Vieira. Dr. Vieira has been the best boss that this collective leadership team of administrators in this district could have. He has integrity and compassion that is hard to put into words. His patience and self-control are steadfast, whether we are going through amazing times or tumultuous ones. The wise statement for the leadership of the Antelope Valley Union High School District is to be at our best every day so that those we serve are inspired and empowered to be their true best. Dr. Vieira, you truly inspire and empower your administrators. You inspire us when you champion our efforts to provide the best educational environments to the students of this valley. You inspire us with your level-headedness and ability to always take the high road. You empower us by giving us the knowledge and resources to be the best that we can be, so that those we lead are inspired and empowered to be their true best. On behalf of myself, Christina Ramos, Matt Anderson, Zach Mercier, Kristen Tepper, Eric Stanford, Charles Dunn, Chris Grado, Rob Harris, Will Laird, Jose Barajas, Matt Berryman, Laura Tweedy Ferguson, Stephanie Herrera, Steve Radford, and all of the leaders that work alongside of us. Dr. Vieira, we love you and couldn't have a better boss. We have your back and trust your leadership.
Thank you very much. I believe you said there was a single one on the agendized items. And so if that is correct, we'll move forward to K for public flourish from the floor for non-agendized items. And I believe we do have some comments from the floor. Is that correct?
Yes, we have 10 public comments on non-agendized items.
Okay, thank you.
The first comment is from Jordan Seaver. Every month I hear Dr. Ruffin say some version of, I've heard from teachers or parents that they want this or that. I email her, text her district phone, nothing. She ghosts me. What I'd like to know is how do I get on the special Ruffin committee to have my voice heard above all others? Because apparently if I am her friend, I get to be more important than the supermajority voices of unions, the predominant will of most parents, and that of anyone else in the community. If I am her friend, my communications can be outside of all public channels, beyond the reach of public records requests, and will get blasted from a soapbox for strings of 30+ minutes at virtually every meeting. No other work will ever get done, and no other students' needs will ever be addressed because me and my gripes will drown everything else out. Please share the link to sign up for that special group. The next comment is from Darius Ari. Am I the only one who heard last month the exchange between Dr. Ruffin and Amanda Perel? They are on the phone during the meeting, colluding on votes and yelling at each other. Perhaps it is not illegal, but it sure as hell isn't what I voted for. I would be embarrassed to be revealed as such a clown. During the recall, I didn't want to believe that Amanda Perel was responsible for the things that were being claimed. The accusations of collusion, the voting record that helped who. I always thought the silence was a sign of pensive reflection, but no, it was a pause to wait and be told what to say and what to vote next. The billboard I saw on the freeway and bright lights didn't miss the mark. I am embarrassed. You should be too. If you had a spine, you would take the responsibility for once for the mess you've made of this district and resign. Don't make people go through another recall. Don't make the district waste money on another election. Do what's right, resign, and let this district rebuild. The next comment is from Cassiopeia Brown. When I'm feeling self-deprecating and decided that I need to be punished, I like to turn on a recorded session of these high school board meetings. Nothing helps more to know that there are people out there more screwed up than I am. What has stricken me most recently is how I repeatedly hear talk of a fear of retaliation. That is insane. Public officials actually punishing employees for having opinions. Employees afraid to speak out because they will be publicly attacked at the next board meeting. It sounds like a movie, but then you see it happen. They fire Bridget Cook for having the opinion of a strong, intelligent Black woman. Can't have that. They plan to fire Brian Hawkins, but have a change of heart. They deny hiring to Anthony Hunt and then deny him again and again. For what? He dared sit at the same table as someone at Panera. What must he have said that day? Dr. Vieira is mercilessly attacked without any shade of restraint over and over and over again. If that isn't a hostile work environment, I don't know what the hell that would look like. Brett Neal, Joe Kelly, Steve Radford, all publicly called out and attacked. I sure am glad I don't work for that district because I have far too damn loud a mouth to not have gotten a tongue lashing on me from Victoria Ruffin that Amanda Perel took that one time she dared not to second a motion. The nerve. So I guess what I mean to say is, thank you for helping me to feel better about myself and see the brighter side of life. The next comment is from Fiora Ivern. In a rant that stole precious minutes of my life that I will never get back, Ms. Ruffin claimed that she was the first Black board member. Why would you even make such a statement? Are you trying to say that Jim Lott and Mike Dutton weren't Black enough for you? What an insult to them and their families for you to insult their service before you and to imply that you were the first Black person to serve on the high school district board. Enough with your lies and slander. You do not represent the Black community. You lied about your interactions with Black teacher group, and you lied about people's fear of retaliation from others, when in fact they are actually afraid of your retaliation. Like you have done to Bridget Cook, Eli Johnson, Anthony Hunt, Danita Wynn, James Stockdale, all of our league coaches, and so many others in this district. Enough with your lies, retaliation, and nastiness. Nobody is buying the BS you are peddling. The next comment is from Jana Jarvan. Why is it that the doctor refuses to publicly apologize for her lies? Her incompetence is keeping the business of the board from getting done. She claims to not have information, tries to pin it on others, when in fact it has been shown that she had such information. Take the audit information, for example. In June, she approved the audit company. In January, she received their report. It is still on the board meeting website even today. In July, she received an email with all the information again. And then she has the audacity to scream, and I do mean scream, at the rest of the board and cabinet that I never received anything. Where was the public apology when it was shown that it was her own damn fault? Nope, too proud to apologize. Won't apologize to the student she harms every meeting. Won't apologize to the employees she harms every month. Won't apologize to the administrators. Won't apologize to Miss Perel for making her look like a damn puppet clown. To think anyone would listen to you and give any credence to anything that comes out of your mouth is absurd. If my horse were hitched to that wagon, I'd shoot it and walk the rest of my life. The next comment is from Shonda Fishnet. Good evening, board members. I teach a moderate severe class dedicated to students with autism at Highland High School. I am very grateful to be back in my class with some of my students, and they seem happy to be back as well. My concern is, why is it that myself, paras, and students can meet face-to-face with the current CDC recommendations, but all of you, our board members, continue to meet virtually? This is the question myself, parents, and staff have discussed. I believe it would show an active faith in what you have asked us to do if you met in person at our district office instead of virtually and live streamed virtually to the public. Thank you, Shonda Fishnet. The next comment is from Vivian. Good evening. I'd like to first say a warm thank you to certain individuals and departments of the district that's been helpful to our community, displaying professional and care, our teachers, security, custodians, cafeteria workers, counselors, admin staff, real coaches, parents, Rachel Orozco, the technical young man at the district board office, Dr. Miguel Coronado, and Dr. Victoria Ruffins, all who sincerely has our kids' best interest at heart that employs you. So please vote for Dr. Coronado or Carpenter. Do not vote for Jill McGrady, who has sent out mailers with our Superintendent Vieira promoting her Republican agenda, endorsed by Kevin McCarthy, in the middle of a pandemic, using our tax dollars for the photo op inside the AVUHSD boardroom. Wow, hypocrite. I came to the district to stand up for our kids' rights at Highland, and still standing against employees such as the so-called coach DJ Hines abuses and two uninvited intimidators at a parents' meeting, James Stockdale and Anthony Hunt. Both should be fired. Now Hunt, for the third time, is trying to become a real teacher for the district, lying to harass us parents who were both welcomed by both Dr. Ruffin and Dr. Coronado to join us for transparency that us parents didn't want. These two rude persons blatantly lied on how they were treated. Tell the truth, shame on you both. So fearful of both doctors' education. Dr. Vieira, use your power, please make it right before you leave office. And then have only Jay Fernal to help Miss McGrady. Learn the Roberts Rules of Law and how to answer questions. Don't be disrespectful. Again, McGrady, tonight towards Dr. Ruffin. You've been fact-checked and Vieira has warned you to stop. The public's watching and listening. No need to spew your racism. There's no transparency on the funds. No one seems to be answering the questions posed by Dr. Ruffin about the budget and checks being written without proper votes. We can't have seats being bought. Don't allow McGrady to use her white supremacist attitude to say Dr. Ruffin didn't allow a Black man to get a position when he didn't, nor does he deserve that right by his own lack of integrity and honesty, no matter his race. Stop the insanity, please. Again, thank you for my young, intelligent, white, brown, and other beautiful colors who are standing for the rights,
30 seconds.
especially Black lives that matter. Stay in good trouble. The next comment is from Callista Hernandez. Can all of you on the board please stop referring to the Latino population as Latinx? I realize that you've heard it was the new thing in some college class somewhere, but why don't you ask your Latino friends how they feel about it? We don't appreciate you choosing to redefine our culture. Our language is beautiful just the way it is. We don't need you trying to insert your feelings into our culture that we are proud of. Masculine and feminine endings on words are not there to define stereotypical roles. La Mesa does not make a table a feminine object any more than using Latino for a mixed group doesn't erase all non-males in that group. If we choose to change our culture, then we will be the ones to do it. But more than 70% of the Latino people are opposed to the idea of a transition to Latinx. I don't expect Dr. Ruffin to hear any of this. When has she ever listened to any of us? But I'm hoping that others will hear this today. We are not Latinx. Stop trying to rename my people and culture. The next comment is from Lee Sin. My comments are for the whole board, but more specifically towards Ms. Ruffin and Ms. Perrell. Can y'all please end the charade of saying you believe in transparency? You have private conversations during the board meeting. You take comments from a select group of friends and then make rash decisions based on the input of a few privileged supporters that affect everyone. You don't reach out to the general public and you don't share where any of your information comes from. For all we know, it's the same 5 to 6 people that are driving all of your decision making, if it is even that many. You are not transparent. You don't even use the district issued and paid for technology, email, or phones to communicate, as you say was so important. Why? Clearly because you don't want it to be made publicly available. What you are doing may be legal, but it's a far cry from transparent. So please stop making us gag every time you use the word that we all know couldn't be farther from the truth. The last comment this evening is from Mai Kai Nguyen. It always seemed weird to me why it was such a big deal about certain board members demanding to have their own attorney in closed session. But then I read the article in the Valley Press about how the district and certain board members are getting sued by former district lawyer Bridget Cook. Now I understand why a lawyer was necessary. Former President Bob Davis was making people get involved with issues relating to his genitalia. Wow, y'all really do have some crazy closed sessions, don't you? I think his resignation makes all the more sense now. I hope there are more to follow. That concludes the public comments for this evening.
Thank you very much. We are moving forward. We are at 7 for educational services. This is a first read. The educational services review proposed revisions to Exhibit E, employee notifications and board policy, employee compensation. It is recommended that the Board of Trustees review proposed revisions to BP-E as presented. Do we have any questions or discussion? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to B, Educational Services Review of Curriculum Guide, Peer Leadership, and this also is a first read and discussion. It is recommended that the Board of Trustees receive the attached curriculum guide for review. Do we have any questions or discussion? Hearing none, we'll move forward to 8, Student Services. This is a license and operational agreement, STS 21032, County of Los Angeles, Department of Children and Family Services. It is recommended that the Board of Trustees approve the license and operational agreement, STS 21032, with the County of Los Angeles, Department of Children and Family Services. May I have a motion, please?
Motion.
Thank you, Ms. Perrell. A second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Rush. Thank you. Any discussion? Hearing none. Mr. Johnson, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mrs.
Aye,
McGrady,
thank you.
Mrs. McGrady, I was asking, I didn't know if you heard me. I said, sure, I did have a discussion.
No, I didn't hear anything at all. I asked if
I
there
have
was,
discussion.
okay.
I was asking the question, did we collect any data about how our students felt about having social workers on campus?
So Dr. Ruffin, as far as data, don't have any hard data. These would be in addition to the currently hired social workers that the district employed a year and a half ago. So these would be county social workers. But what we've noticed is a request, especially from our alternative sites, for more time for the district employed social workers to be on campus. So anecdotal as it is, I think that the opinion of the students is very well thought of and very highly used.
Yeah, no, that wasn't my question. I know that this is the Department of Children and Family Services social workers, and they are coming in as an outside entity. So my question was, did we get any information in regards to how our students felt about having Department of Children and Family Services social workers actually being housed on campus, because that's considered an outside social worker and they're very different from our PPS social workers.
Right. Other than the answer I gave, I don't believe we have any student data on their opinion of outside social workers on campus.
Okay, thank you.
So Mr. Johnson, are you still voting aye?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and Ms. Perrell, how do you vote?
Aye.
Aye. Dr. Ruffin?
Yes.
Yes. Mr. Rush?
Yes.
Yes. Mrs. McGrady? Yes. So that passed unanimously. We are at 9, personnel services. This is approval of a provisional internship permit. It is recommended that the Board of Trustees approve and direct the Assistant Superintendent of Personnel Services to submit a provisional internship permit, allowing this individual to teach in the subject areas indicated. May I have a motion?
Motion.
Okay, Ms. Perrell, a second. Mr. Rush, do we have any discussion?
Yes, point of order. This is not properly agendized. Who put this back on the agenda?
It was from a new interview.
Okay, it's not properly agendized. It's procedurally improper. The losing party cannot
So
put this
in what
back on
way?
the agenda. The losing party cannot put this back on the agenda for the record.
It is a new one. He was re-interviewed. There was a new interview process. There was a new selection. Let's see, think that would be, is that Mr. Hawkins or Mr. Neal? Mr. Neal, could you speak to that, please?
Yes, you're correct, Ms. McGrady. This is a new interview panel. It was posted. We post for the vacancy positions on a regular basis. As we continue to have slots to fill, we'll repost and re-interview every 2 or 3 weeks. And this was another, a different interview with a different interview panel with different candidates.
Any other questions or comments?
I have a few things. I've spoken on this issue in the past. This is the 3rd time it's come up, and the first time it came up, I decided to go talk to some students at Palmdale High School, and I had a chance to read some of that, some of the words that they had that I'm willing to share with anybody. Student testimonials in support of Mr. Hunt, his qualifications, and I have personal experience, and I support this PIP permit. And I see virtually no reason why Mr. Hunt would be denied a provisional internship permit, not once, but twice. And I heard the member of Area 5 mentioned Board Bylaw 9000 earlier, but I fear that my colleague has missed a part. It reads, to fulfill the board's responsibilities, the board shall involve the community, the parents, guardians, students, and staff in developing a common vision for the district focused on learning and achievement and responsive to the needs of all students. So to be clear, the dissenting parties, Ms. Perrell and the member of Area 5, have ignored community and staff words in support of Anthony Hunt in our very own board meetings. They've ignored students from Palmdale High School that I read to the board at the July 23rd meeting, and they have ignored the district's vision to hire good teachers to help students achieve their goals. I speak to the dissenting party, Ms. Perrell and the member of Area 5. Anthony Hunt is a hardworking AVUHSD employee that has been denied this PIP permit because of a personal vendetta that you hold against him. It is shameful that you have denied his permit twice. However, I hope that this vote is different. Thank you.
Any other comments or discussion? Just before we go to the vote, I too would like to say that we know that Anthony Hunt is an outstanding individual. He has received exemplary reviews, and he's worked with us, so we know who he is. We know he gets along with our students. We know he would be a good employee. Would anybody else have anything they'd like to say? Mr. Johnson, how do you vote?
Aye.
Thank you. Ms. Perrell? Ms. Perrell, how do you vote?
Abstain.
You can only abstain, I believe, if you have some personal connection, or
You
if you
cannot
don't
badger.
if you don't have enough information.
Oh my God.
And that's correct, Ms. McGrady.
So how do you vote?
I abstain.
So you have a personal connection, or you don't have enough information?
It's not a conflict.
Then you have to vote. Dr. Ruffin, how do you vote?
No.
Mr. Rush?
Yes.
Yes, and Ms. McGrady, yes. Ms. Perrell, you have one more opportunity. Ms. Perrell, how do you vote?
Abstain.
Okay. So once again, it did not pass. Ms. Perrell voted with Dr. Ruffin in the sense that she knows that with an abstention, it will not count. So that's a no, an abstention, 2 yeses with Mr. Rush and myself, and a yes with Mr. Johnson. So we're moving forward to 10, administrative services on an action item. Adopt the resolution 2020-2109, week of the school administrator. It is recommended that the Board of Trustees adopt a resolution for the week of the school administrator. May I have a motion?
Motion, but I want to say something, Mrs. McGrady, from the last thing that was mentioned. I didn't vote with Victoria Ruffin. I actually just abstained from the vote. I just want to put that for the record.
Okay, but you do not have the right to abstain unless you have a connection to the person or you do not have enough information. And I asked you that 3 times. Okay, so do I have a second for this one? I will second it. Do we have any discussion?
I'll just say that I liked Mr. Kelly's comments earlier, and I'll have the same comments to my Knight High School administration team, especially Dr. Laird. I appreciate them, and I very much like this item. So thank you.
Thank you very much. I'd like to read the Week of the School Administrator resolution. Whereas leadership matters for California's public education system and the more than 6 million students it serves, school administrators are passionate, lifelong learners who believe in the value of quality public education. The title school administrator is a broad term used to define many educational leadership posts. Superintendents, assistant superintendents, principals, assistant principals, special education, adult education leaders, curriculum and assessment leaders, school business officials, classified educational leaders, and other school district employees are considered administrators. And whereas providing quality service for a school's success is paramount for the profession, and most school administrators began their careers as teachers, the average administrator has served in public education for more than a decade. Most of California's superintendents have served in education for more than 20 years. Such experience is beneficial in their work to effectively and efficiently lead public education and improve student achievement. Public schools operate with lean management systems. Across the nation, public schools employ fewer managers and supervisors than most public and private sector industries, including transportation, food service, manufacturing, utilities, construction, publishing, and public administration. And whereas school leaders depend on a network of support from school communities, fellow administrators, teachers, parents, students, businesses, community members, board trustees, colleges and universities, community and faith-based organizations, elected officials, and district and county staff and resources to promote ongoing student achievement and school success. The state of California has declared the second full week of October as the week of the school administrator in Education Code 440151.1. And whereas the future of California's public education system depends on the quality of its leadership, now therefore be it resolved by the Antelope Valley Union High School District that all school leaders be commended for the contributions they make to successful student achievement. Adopted this 15th day of October 2020 by the Antelope Valley Union High School District Board of Trustees. Back to our vote. Mr. Johnson, how do you vote?
Aye.
Aye. Ms. Perrell?
Aye.
Aye. Dr. Ruffin?
Yes.
Yes. Mr. Rush?
Yes.
Yes. Ms. McGrady? Yes, that was a unanimous vote. We are at 11, approve the consent agenda. Approve items listed in the following consent agenda categories: educational services, student services, personnel services, business services, and administrative services. Actions proposed for the consent agenda are items consistent with adopted policies and approved practices of the district and are deemed routine in nature. The board will be asked to approve all of the items in the consent agenda by a single vote unless any member of the board asks that an item be removed from the consent agenda to be considered and discussed separately. It is recommended that the Board of Trustees approve the items listed in the following consent agenda categories: educational services, student services, personnel services, business services, and administrative services as presented. May I have a motion?
Motion.
Thank you, Mr. Rush. A second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Perrell. Any discussion?
I want to remove 16A, B, C, and D. Or actually, I don't want to remove it. I just want to add that I provided Mrs. Orozco with my board comments. So I believe that we just need to vote on being able to include those board comments in for the record.
Okay, I believe we will take the vote on the records and then we will add those as an addendum to the records.
A, B, and C, A, B, C, and D.
Yes. So those are things that you want to add to the minutes. So we need to vote on the minutes as they are, and then you are adding your addendums to them.
Yes, I've already provided those to Mrs. Orozco. She has those, and I just wanted to be in the record for 16A, B, C, and D to be added in for the record, for those to be added for those.
They will be attached to them. Yes.
Yeah.
Anything else? Okay, Mr. Johnson, how do you vote?
Aye.
Ms. Perrell, how do you vote?
Aye.
Dr. Ruffin?
Yes.
Yes, I'm sorry. I apologize. Ms. Ruffin said, Ms. Perrell said aye. Dr. Ruffin said yes. Mr. Rush?
Yes.
Yes, I'm sorry. I'm supposed to repeat because we're doing it virtually. And Mrs. McGrady said yes. So that was approved unanimously. Okay, and so let me go to our next. That's consent. So we are at 17, I believe, from the board.
Did we have to take a vote on that, Mrs. McGrady, or was that already approved for 16, A, B, C, and D? That was voted on. Okay.
We just took a vote on it. Okay. So we are at 17 from the board and superintendent. Ms. Perrell. Ms. Perrell? Do you have anything to say?
No, I don't. Not this time. Oh, wait, hold on. Yes, I do. I want to thank all the teachers, staff, and faculty during this time with how the schools are with the distance learning. So I thank every one of you for being able to handle that.
Thank you, Dr. Ruffin.
Yes. I want to again acknowledge Hispanic Heritage Month. I'm hopeful that this board will honor the recommendation to acknowledge the Hispanic Heritage Month resolution to honor the Hispanic, Chicano, Latino, Latin, and American contributions to the United States history and culture, and is celebrated between September the 15th through October the 15th. And I'm going to switch gears just a little bit. And in the spirit of why it's important to vote down your ballot this November the 3rd, as board members, we were elected to, quote, open quote, educate the public by using meetings as discussions and informational forums for district, state, and federal education issues, end quote. Also, to open quote, engage parents, faculty, and community members in the district processes, recognizing that they can inform, enhance, and strengthen the district's decision-making efforts. And that's the end quote. This information in quotation was directly taken from page 5 of Fagan, Friedman, and Fulfrost, F3's Effective and Collaborative Governance Workshops for the Antelope Valley Union High School District on January 19, 2019. And it's the same guide that we were given as a district that says we follows Robert's Rules of Order. Nevertheless, a few weeks ago, I was threatened by the board clerk in an email because I asked to meet with the district's auditor, which, by the way, is a traditional practice that has been extended to previous board members. I was told that I, as a board member, that I would personally have to pay for my visit with the district budget auditor. And I also asked, after that, I emailed Dr. Vieira, the superintendent, to request that the auditor present to the entire board at our next board meeting. At that time, we had a special board meeting come up, and it has since been 2 board meetings, including this one. Then I emailed Dr. Vieira inquiring about how many of the previous board members in the Antelope Valley Union High School District had been allowed to meet with the district auditors. I have yet to receive a response from him with that question being answered. Additionally, I followed up with previous board members and was informed that they were allowed to meet with the auditor individually and that they did not have to pay individually out of pocket. So I'm not sure why I was personally discriminated against or why current board members are not being allowed to meet with the budget auditor, and or why we're being bullied for simply doing our jobs that we were elected to do. Yet, this is what the systemic derailing and institutional racism looks like up close and personal. This is what happens when you have elected officials that work in collusion with agendas that are not in the best interest of the students. This is what happens when our leaders are not looking out for the best interest of the students and families they were elected to serve. The financial report that was shared with this board is public knowledge, and it leaves me with many questions that I believe our board and community has a right to discuss. The auditor should have been allowed to attend this meeting for the board to discuss the concerns free from threats. This is what accountability looks like. For the record, the school board has 1 employee, and that 1 employee is the superintendent only. The superintendent is accountable to the board. No one board member has any individual authority. We operate as a majority. At least this is how it is supposed to work. Here in the Antelope Valley, not so much so. This is why I am considered a disruption, because I refuse to be the status quo. I and other board members should have been allowed to meet with the auditor. What is our district hiding is my question. The $1 million question for me is always going to be, what is our district hiding? Full transparency, open communication is not what our superintendent has been about. We still have 4 checks from F3 that has not been accounted for. This level of abuse of positions that we as a community contends with under these ideologies are corrupt. And still, I'm hopeful that at some point we can get a superintendent in our district that is an equity warrior, sees our at Hope and at Promise students first, and I wish we had an individual that is willing to come to the table to celebrate all of our differences while promoting the academic accomplishments of our young adults. We are a strong Antelope Valley. Our young adults are depending on us to get it right. Please exercise your right to be the change you want to see in this Antelope Valley. Vote all the way down the ballot. Be safe. And until next time, I'm done.
Mr. Rush.
Yes, first of all, I'd like to say, echo the sentiments of Joe Kelly's letter. I too thank Dr. Vieira for his leadership during these trying times, as well as all the other administrators on campus, and not just those people, but because it's Administrator Week, is it? I don't remember what it was, but whatever. I want to thank everybody for doing a good job, and that goes all the way down the line to all employees. I know everybody's working out of their element. They're doing a good job, and I greatly appreciate it. Anthony Hunt, keep trying. Keep trying. You're going to get there. Eventually, you'll get there. And I'm sorry you're having to go through this. Can you guys hear me? Amanda, can you hear me? Amanda?
Yes, we can hear you.
Miss Perrell, can you hear me? Okay. All right, I'm done. Apparently she can't hear me, doesn't want to answer.
Thank you, Mr. Rushman. Oh, Mr. Johnson.
Thank you, Ms. McGrady. I hope everyone's safe and healthy. I'll start my comments by shouting out ASB classes around our district. They're doing great work organizing online events and activities. I'd also like to congratulate Monica Marquez and Timothy Green for their sacrifice for our district, an accolade that is well deserved. I've been in the district for 5 years now. I've been on this board for about 1.5 years. And I've served with a board majority that ignored our board bylaws, insulted our staff, and embarrassed our community. In 19 days, our community will elect board members to this district, specifically areas 2 and 3. And I invite our community to vote for individuals that advocate for students. I believe that those individuals are Danita Wynn and Jill McGrady. These individuals have shown time after time of their experience, sacrifice, and support of students. I believe it is a simple choice. I believe they will reshape our district, which is why I support them and invite you to do the same. Thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you. Since my initial request on October 28th of 2019, I've made 5 requests to Harrison Associates for all opinions that were written by John Harris and/or Harrison Associates for the Antelope Valley Union High School District. With each of the first four requests, Mr. Harris refused to provide this board, his client, of which I'm currently the presiding officer, with copies of board property. He did acknowledge originally, and I quote from his letter, "President Davis is the only authorized representative of the governing board to confer with the firm, and the requested material remains in his sole custody." Following Mr. Davis's resignation on November 4th, Mr. Harris stated, "Dr. Victoria Ruffin, the board's vice president, assumed the duties of the president, and you have provided interim President Ruffin the firm's legal opinions to maintain in her capacity as the new president of the board." This was without a board vote to give Dr. Ruffin authorization to confer with that firm. Accordingly, I was directed by Mr. Harris to request copies of the board's legal opinions from Dr. Ruffin as the interim president. I did ask Dr. Ruffin for those copies. She refused. She had the position of interim president from November 4th to December 18th without authorization to confer with that firm. On December 18th, I was appointed presiding officer for this board by Dr. Deborah Eduardo, the LA County Superintendent. In December and January, Mr. Harris refused my request for the documents because Dr. Ruffin was still interim president. However, on June 9th, in an email to Ms. Orozco, Dr. Ruffin states, and I quote, "I am neither president or clerk. I will not be signing." Therefore, Dr. Ruffin, in your own words, you acknowledge you are not president. I'm requesting the copies of all legal opinions and work product that Harris and Associates completed for the Antelope Valley Union High School District while they had authorization to work with us and were paid for that work. I ask that you turn over that work product by next Friday, October 23rd, 2020. Once again, Harris and Associates is not currently authorized to work with anyone on this board. As I have stated repeatedly, all work this firm is completing for you, Dr. Ruffin, and you, Ms. Perrell, is at your own expense. As you have been saying tonight, no one or two board members can create work product that will cost the district money. The two of you have racked up somewhere over $150,000 in unauthorized charges. And I've just been told that we received invoices for August and September. And by the way, please send copies of those to us, Mr. Hawkins. Now, on another note, I would like to thank all of our employees who are working through these difficult times. I thank you for working with us to find solutions to the problems we're facing. We're all walking this path for the first time, so of course there are going to be some missteps. I thank you for working with us as a team. Together, we can do this. Thank you. Stay safe. Dr. Vieira.
Thank you. You know, I had the opportunity this week as our district took an important step forward in returning students to our campuses, and I had an enjoyable opportunity to visit AV High School as students departed the bus on that Monday morning and see the absolute sheer joy they exuded as they saw the familiar faces of their teachers, staff, and administration. In speaking with our principals, I know this excitement was felt at each of our schools. We know that our kids are best served in our classrooms. Returning students back to school was truly a collective effort, and I want to extend my sincere gratitude to everyone who made this possible. So again, thank you for all that you do. Stay safe and stay well.
Thank you, Dr. Vieira. We are at 18, a report out of closed session. We had two board members who refused to come to closed session once again, so we were not able to, we did have closed session, we just couldn't do any of the board business or take any votes. So at this point, we are ready to adjourn. May I have, excuse me, may I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Thank you. And I need a second. I will second. Thank you, Ms. Perrell. And any discussion? Mr. Johnson, how do you vote?
Aye.
Aye. Ms. Perrell, how do you vote?
Aye.
Aye. Dr. Ruffin, how do you vote?
Yes.
Yes. Mr. Rush?
Yes.
Yes. And Ms. McGrady, yes. We have one more that was unanimous. We are adjourned. We will see you in November 19th, I believe. Be safe and take care.